Hey, what's up, guys? We're back for the second time.
Yeah, you're having a good time. Woo, love it.
I hope y'all have missed us as much as we've missed you.
Right.
I know I've missed sitting in this room cracking jokes on Bill. So it's been really great today. And I've been on one, you guys.
Yeah, but we've got a topic today that's it's a tough one. Sometimes it's a topic that you don't want to think about.
Well, it's not just that you don't want to think about it, but you don't know what to do.
Right. How do I handle
situation.
it? And we're talking about, loved ones that are struggling in addiction.
Yeah.
So what do we do? Do we approach them? Because, a lot of times, for me personally, I know what it's been like in addiction, and I can see the road that they're heading down, and we want to try to warn them and keep them away from the hurt and the struggle and the pain and everything that they're going through or what's fixing to come to them. And we want to try to help them, right? But when do we do this? And, how do we approach them?
Well, not just that, but if you've been in addiction and you're in recovery now, a lot of times it can be hard to put yourself in that situation because it may
hinder your recovery.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the word, but it may make you slip up and fall.
Right.
So.
But if you've never been in addiction yourself, and I know if you're living alive today, you know somebody who is in addiction.
That's what I was going to say. Like you have a
family
loved
member,
one,
someone that you really care about. You've
who's
got
struggling with addiction, whatever it may be. Alcoholism, drug addiction, some other form of addiction, because there's other addictions other than just drugs and alcohol.
Right. Right. You can be addicted to money, just the lifestyle. You can be addicted to that lifestyle.
You can be addicted to work. You could be just addicted, because I know some people, they're not even really addicted to the drug itself. They're just addicted to, like you said, the lifestyle or just the street life, just living that way.
Right.
So,
but
either way, if you want to help them, you have to educate yourself. If you've never been in it, you've never dealt with it, you don't know anything about it. I promise you, if you Google
whatever addiction, whatever you think of,
you can find plenty of articles. There's studies on addiction. There's a lot of ins and outs when it comes to addiction. So that's the first thing that you need to do if you have a loved one in addiction and you want to help. You want, is if you haven't gotten to the point where you're like, no, I'm just done. And sometimes, I'm not saying that's the bad choice. Sometimes that's how it has to be. Sometimes you just have to be done. There's nothing more you can do.
Right. And then if you've been in addiction yourself and you're in recovery yourself, you have to, guard yourself, and you might not be able to step into that situation yet.
Yeah.
Because, it might hinder your own recovery.
Yeah.
But, educate yourself. And, for the ones that I want to say you have to prioritize your recovery. If you're the one that's in recovery trying to help a loved one that's struggling with addiction, you have to prioritize your own recovery first.
Yeah.
It's essential.
And because I've dealt with loved ones in addiction so much that I personally am to the point where there's nothing else I can do for you. I've tried to guide you. I've tried to give you advice. I've tried to mentor you. I've tried to lead you and tell you, this is what you should do. This is what you need to do. I promise it's going to help. But if you just don't listen, there's nothing else I can say.
Right. And then you have to approach them with compassion. To begin with. Because, especially if, me being in recovery myself, I knew where I was at. And if somebody come at me, pointing their finger, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, it's more of you're supporting them more than trying to tell them, hey, you're making the wrong choice.
In the beginning.
Right.
Now, yes, in the beginning, approach with compassion. It's my beliefs, okay? Just saying.
Right.
This is just me. Some people have a little bit more, I guess, patience, than I do, I guess, with situations like this. I don't have a whole lot of patience anymore.
Right.
Just because I've seen, I don't know. And honestly, I think Celebrate Recovery did it to me.
Right. Well, but that's a way of you, prioritizing your recovery, you're setting these boundaries,
Well,
because there's a little bit, you have limited contact with them.
Well,
because if I keep, we say all the time up here, you're going to be who you hang around. So it's not like I can't keep sitting with you while you're using, because I know the road that you're going down.
yeah.
But I'm not going to be able to sit here and do it with, sit there and watch you do it to yourself.
Yeah. For me though, it's not really, I'm not in danger of being influenced at my point in recovery. You know what I mean?
You say that. Well, I mean, I know you can say that, but can't get too confident in that.
Well,
though.
no, but I know myself.
Right, right. Well,
My,
you know your triggers. You know what you can go
is,
through.
I'm not going to sit here and baby you and coddle you when you know what you're doing is wrong. You've been told. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm that type of friend. You can ask anyone. A good friend of mine recently relapsed. They were like, do not tell Amanda. She's going to be mean to me. Right. But it's not that I'm being mean. It's just that I'm going to be blunt.
Right.
You know
what
you did was wrong. You know what you're doing is wrong. You know these decisions are wrong. And I'm not going to tell you,
yeah, I'm not going to, I'm not going to fall into your pity party.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me. That's what I mean by I don't really have patience anymore, because I feel like that's a form of enabling.
Right, which is another thing we have to stop enabling them, and which covers, stop covering up for them.
That's what I was going to say. Stop making excuses for them. Stop. Now, I mean, I get it in the beginning. Yes, well, they've had a hard time. They've had a hard childhood. They had a hard life growing up. They, all of these things contributed. I take all of those things into consideration. I do.
Right.
But at some point, you're a grown up. You have to
take responsibility.
You have to take
for
responsibility
yourself.
for your actions. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Your mom sucked. Get over it.
Right. Stop,
I'm sorry.
Stop
and I'm not trying to be ugly, y'all. I'm really not. I'm not trying to be a what is it?
There was a time
hard
that, there was a time that, well, I can't say that there was a time, but because I've never been bonded out before. You know what I'm saying? Nobody come got me. But sometimes, sometimes, you're enabling them by taking away their consequences of their actions by going and bonding them out. Let their butt sit there in jail for a little while and think about what they've done.
Because they think there's no consequences.
Right.
Someone's always going to rescue me from the bad choices that I've made.
Right.
No, stop doing that. And I know it's hard. I know it sucks because that's your loved one. Trust me, I know I have plenty of loved ones that are still in addiction to this day. They were in addiction before I was in addiction. They were in addiction while I was in addiction.
Right.
And now I've got 10 years, almost 11 years. I'm working on my 11 years sober, and they're still in addiction.
Right.
There comes a time when you can't, and I used to jump to their defense every single time.
Right.
Well,
they're just going through a hard time.
They're just going through a hard time. They, their mind.
They deserve better. Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's not, for me personally, it's just, I know who this person could be.
Right. And that's why we say this is a tough topic, because, and it hurts, especially if you're in recovery, because you've already seen, the road, the path, the hurt, the struggle. You know the pain, and you see what they're going through, and you see that the road of destruction that is fixing to come. The bad part ain't even got here yet.
Yeah.
So you're trying to warn them about, and go to it with passion, but you have to set boundaries. No more enabling. That's a hard word to say for me.
No more don't make excuses. I feel like I kind of got on a rant there for a second, which I didn't mean to. It's just, this is something I feel very strongly about, because I have seen it over and over and over for so many years, and I've tried all of these steps. And that's something that you may have to come to accept. You may do every single thing that we're telling you on this list, or everything that you Google, you may do everything right.
And they're still not accepted.
It still does not work.
Right. And that's why you have to be prepared for, difficult emotions to come up.
What's it called? Tough love.
Right.
You got to toughen up. But we're going to give you some more steps on what you can do.
And one of the steps,
what you can try to
do. If you're trying to help someone struggling, go ahead and seek support. Seek help yourself.
Yeah.
because there's people out there that can support you in what you're doing. They can be behind you, and that's keeping your accountability.
Well, not just that, but it can be very emotionally trying and taxing, stressing, mentally just draining.
Right, because you could be thinking to yourself, I've done everything I can. What can I do now? And you still just can't let it go.
Yeah.
Seek help. Seek someone to talk to.
Professional help. Okay.
Right.
Counseling, therapy. Seek out your group meetings and stuff like that. And those are also things. That's the next kind of point that I feel like we skipped over because I got on a rant. Those are things that you can offer them, before you get fed up, before you, and all that. If you're still willing to put in and try and get them into, talk to them about counseling, therapy, drug addiction, recovery groups.
Right. And offer to go
what's the main one? Rehab.
Rehab.
I was like, a rehabilitation center.
Right. Something longer than 6 months, though.
Yes, definitely.
But, that's, the encouraging your professional help to them when you offer the help yourself, for somebody else, offer to go with them. Yeah. Hey, there's a CR down here. I'll go with you. I'll come pick you up and take you. Yeah. Offer and to be there, just to be that support and just know, and that's just letting them know that they're not alone. Yeah. Right. Because a lot of times in our addiction, we feel alone. That's might be why I'm in addiction, because I feel, so alone. That might be my problem. Yeah. But just having somebody there, hey, they're seeing somebody who's been through it.
Well, and not just that, but you're leading by example. You can let them know, I may not have addiction, but I'll still go to this group with you because I need help too.
Yeah, right. I still need help myself.
Yeah. Right. And we do.
Right. So, encourage professional help, seek help for yourself, get a support system, either which way it goes. If you're in recovery, you already have a support system.
I recommend a support system just for life, you guys.
Right.
Right. Life sucks sometimes and it's hard, and you definitely need a support system. Even if you think you have no issues, which I promise you do. Right. You got some issues. Yeah. But support systems are just good for life.
Right. And you have to, stay connected with the loved one. Be involved. Get find out what they're going through. And just stay connected with them. And if you're in recovery, you still have to. You have these boundaries set. And there's a limited time I can be around you. I know where you're at. So just where you're at. The places you go, I cannot go. So I have to, meet you on different terms.
Well, and the staying connected. Sometimes all they need is just to know that somebody does love them and somebody does care. I mean, staying connected could just be a weekly message saying, hey, I was just thinking about you. I love you.
Right. And that's the reminding them, that they're not alone in this. Right.
But on that same line, if it's always a problem, you reaching out, because that was my experience. I would randomly just message, hey, you were on my mind. I just want to tell you I love you. Mm-hmm. I didn't get back I would have been okay with no response. I see you read it and that's good enough for me, but that's not how it would be. And sometimes that's not how it's going to be. If it's always them coming back at you with just something negative or, being ugly to you or, you matter too. That's what I finally had to, I had to put up some walls and was like, as much as I love you, I will not allow you to keep hurting me.
Well, you have to take care of yourself. Yeah. And that's whether you've ever had an addiction or not, or you're in recovery, you have to take care of yourself first, because if you're slipping, you're falling, you're stressed out, your self-esteem is down, your confidence is down, you're not going to be any help to anybody else anyway. No, so you have to take care of yourself.
It always just got me. It would literally disrupt the atmosphere in my home, because it would just get me so bad in my feelings. And then I would start second guessing myself. Well, have I really been that bad? Did I really, no, I haven't. No, I have not. I finally had to stand up for myself, but that's not always the case.
That's what taking care of yourself, though, that take care of your mental health, your physical health, and mentally this can be really stressful trying to deal
It's
with a loved one
hard.
in addiction, especially if they're the ones that don't want to listen, but that they need help.
Yeah, I've said so many times that I honestly believe that the loved ones of the addict suffer more than the addict themselves.
Definitely.
I mean,
the
honestly,
ones that are actually in their right mind are the ones that suffer more.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Because the addicts just, they're numbing themselves and they're, I don't care what's going on.
Well, I mean, it's, and we've said this before, it changes, the chemical makeup of their brain. Like the person that my loved one right now recently said something to someone about, they're all alone. Nobody supports them. Nobody is in their corner, and it, I cried so much that day because I know deep in my heart, they really believe that. They do. I mean, they really believe that. They really believe in their mind, in their heart, in their soul that nobody loves them. Right. And it broke my heart.
Well, I've been there. You've been there. You've been in that situation yourself. So.
But it sucks because on the other side of that, there are so many loved ones that would literally go through fire, to save you. But it doesn't do any good when you turn around and you jump right back into it.
Right. Well, that's another thing too. When you're, if you've never been in addiction, and you really don't understand addiction yet, I want to go ahead and give you a heads up. Relapse can happen. They can fall back, and even though as many times as whatever you've done for them, that expect a relapse.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. 9 times out of 10. There will be a relapse. Have
hope for, recovery, but expect a relapse.
But know that it is a process.
Right,
recovery is a process. It is just because,
it's nothing that happens at the snap of a finger.
That's what I was going to say, because we've tried to save people a few times, and I don't really think that at the time
actually let them come in the house. Like, come here, we got you. You just do this, but it didn't work.
No, I don't think that I really grasped the concept at that time that recovery is a process, and there is a lot that goes into it, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do, what you say, how you act. They have to make that decision for themselves. You cannot make it for them. They have to make that decision. But it is a very long process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Like, just don't expect to go to your loved one and be like, hey, look, come to this meeting or go to this meeting and expect them to be 100% sober, the next week. It is a long, very trying, very emotional, very hard process.
Right. You have to be prepared for these difficult emotions that are going to come up.
Which is why you need to educate yourself on, all the ins and outs of addiction. And that's why it's so important for not just them to get support and, some kind of resources. You need them too.
Right. And see, and I've had a situation too where I was like, I thought that my way was the only way to get sober.
Yeah.
But I was so dead wrong because I've, being 6 years clean now, I know that, and I've seen it. It's because I've seen it happen. Mm-hmm. I've seen other people get sober in different ways, different methods, and just, so use your sobriety or your recovery as just the guidelines. Not everybody's recovery is going to be the same.
Yeah. No.
There's not. Nobody's recovery is the same.
Nobody's recovery is the same. Nobody's rock bottom is the same.
Right.
Nobody's turning point is the same. It's all addiction and recovery is tailored specifically to you.
Right.
It has to be a personalized recovery plan.
Right. So you have to use your recovery wisely, I guess you could say. So I did it this way. It might help you, but if that doesn't work, don't give up on, because my way didn't work. Don't give up. You have to let them know not to give up on their, their route.
Yeah.
Find their own routine And that's another thing is, speaking of routine, if you're in recovery, you have to keep your own routine up too. Or, you have to know your triggers. You have to know your boundaries. So you don't fall back into temptation and, end up relapsing yourself.
Yeah. One thing that I really, because we've just about hit all of the, the main points.
Right.
But there is one that I feel like is extremely important. We talked about it last week in CR, which I absolutely loved. I was completely shocked because we've never talked about anything like this in CR, which is crazy because it's CR, but plan for emergencies.
Yes, definitely.
When you have a loved one in addiction, expect the worst at any moment.
Right, because it's going to happen.
It's just a matter of time. And I hate to say that. I really do.
Right. Well,
it's so scary, and that in itself is like, that's part of why you need the support system and and all that, because it's a constant living in fear of, when am I going to get that phone call? Not if I'm going to get that phone call.
Right.
It's when am I going to get that phone call?
Right.
Because with the way that drugs are nowadays, y'all, and fentanyl is in everything.
Right.
It really is.
And especially if you know that your loved one that's struggling, their addiction is something, on the opioid side,
Well, not just opioid, meth too. It's in meth too.
Well, yeah, right. The fentanyl.
So plan for an emergency. Have a plan, in place. Get you some Narcan. You can can't you get it from like the fire department or something?
You can, or come talk to us.
You can come talk to us
at
CR. There are test strips that you can get to test your drugs to see if there's fentanyl, and if there is, how much there is, because they may get their drug, and unless they have these test strips, they don't know how much fentanyl is in it. So they'll do their normal dose. That's what our leader was saying last week. And it really, it struck something with me. But if they test it, then they'll know, okay, well, I can't do that much. I have to lower it. And it can save them from an overdose.
Right. Because, it's, withdrawals can be dangerous. So sometimes it might not be the right move to try to quit immediately, cold turkey, and just knock it all out.
And some people don't believe in that, but some
especially
people, with withdrawals, it can
be. Why don't they just stop? Stop doing it. They know it's bad for them. Sometimes that's
not a possibility.
That's not a possibility. So plan for emergencies.
Plan for emergencies. Plan to get in, if it is like an opioid addiction or something like that, plan to get into a detox center where you can medically withdraw. That way your body doesn't go into shock. And because it's really hard, especially like if you try detoxing at home, not only is it hard and dangerous, it's extremely painful to watch, a loved one go through that. And at home, there's not really much you can do for them, to comfort them and to help them. So find a detox center if it gets to that point when they do want help, plan for emergencies, because it's a matter of when, not if.
Right. And, and I want to throw in, pray about it. Talk to God, see what God wants you to move, how he wants you to move on the situation, because, and we pray for anybody that's out there that's lost an addiction to, for God to take any taste for whatever whatever they crave. Yeah. To take that taste away from them. We pray, they seek help. But pray for, the boldness and the courage to approach this loved one. Don't just sit back and do nothing. Find out a way, figure out a way, there is a way.
It's hard and it's scary.
Right.
We understand, but make sure that there is a balance between you supporting your loved one in addiction and caring for yourself as well. You can't let them get out of balance.
Right. You might be out there thinking, well, if I say something to them, it's going to push them off the edge. Well, you know what? That one word from you might be the key. Mm-hmm. They might be actually not even knowing that's what they need for you to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
But that might be what kicks them off into their recovery.
You never know.
So you never know. So don't sit back and just do nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
We love you guys.
Yeah. Check out the other videos.
I really hope that this is going to help somebody. I hope it helps y'all. We'll be back next week with another topic.